Welcome back to Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. And as you see today, I am not Miss Confidence. I am Demetria Goode. City Sid is the host for today, and she will be interviewing me. This is a long time coming because we have shared so many testimonies. So this time we're going to share testimony of the founder of the Goode Fight, founder of Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast, and we'll get into the end why we created this through me sharing my testimony. So as an advocate of the work that we do, I want to be a part of what we do. So a quick intro about myself. My name is Demetria Goode. I am the founder of the Goode Fight. My ex brutally beat and stabbed me 6 times with the steak knife. From him brutally beating, and I'm going to give an advisory warning to this too, because some things may be graphic for those and may be a little disturbing. I attempted suicide after the brutal beating and stabbing a few months later, and what it did is caused me to look into my childhood and face my traumas. And this is where we are at today. Hey, City Sid, you ready?
Yep. So let's go ahead and get into it as we would with any other guest. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, how you grew up, and if you did experience any trauma in those years.
Oh, absolutely. A little bit about my childhood. I tried to suppress my childhood a lot, even going into adulthood and moving on in life. I didn't grow up in the best family. It actually was a dysfunctional family. My mother tried to do the best that she could do, but when you have traumas and mental health, it trickles down. She did do a lot of things. I did learn a lot of essential things from my mom, but also negativity as well from her childhood traumas, which she would never talk about, but that's okay. I spent a lot of time, not at mom's, but at grandparents, and just not your normal place. A lot of cousins, a lot of family members there. But that also came with a lot of emotional, verbal, physical, and other forms of abuse, which led me into my adulthood. I was in and out of the system from 12 to 16. I thought that being in and out of the system was a better for me. But I realized as I got older that a part of my childhood was wasted.
And when you say into the system, do you mean juvenile detention system or foster care system? What system are we referencing?
Oh, absolutely. I was in and out of juvenile system. I've been incarcerated in juvenile 4 times. I've been to group homes. I've been to a place ran by a Catholic church ran by nuns that took part of it was for behavioral girls. And I said I've been in group homes. Just a variance of all.
Now, I know you said you felt as if it was better for you. I guess kind of like what gave you that impression, or why did you feel like in such a big family that was the best option for you, and what was going on to make you feel like that was the better option?
Well, it was a form of stability, a form of structure, consistency. I think my best focus on school was in the system and group homes. But I also had challenges and issues there too, because I had mental health issues. So I think there was always two versions of me, but I felt like people constantly being there was more of a security towards me because I didn't get more of the negativity and the bullying and stuff like that in the system.
And what type of challenges, if any, did you experience while you were there?
I've most of my life, not a lot of challenges. I had some issues with females, where I had to stand up. I never was a back down person, but I more so helped other people that were vulnerable in the system. Also, I got put out of the system, out of group homes, because I became rebellious. Like, I just, out of the blue, people would treat me kind. I would get counseling, I would get stuff like that, but then something would trigger me to start misbehaving, and that caused me to get kicked out of some group homes and end up back into the system.
And throughout this time, did you have a plan for when you aged out, or what did end up happening once you were able to be out on your own?
I didn't have a plan when I aged out. At 16, something clicked in me, and I was like, I don't want to do this no more. I pretty much was a survivor. I've always been in survival mode ever since a child.
So, with you being out on your own now at this point, what were some of the challenges you were going through? Although you were kind of in a situation where you had to kind of hold the light of an adult. What was the change for you? Like, really having a household of your own, having to pay this, pay that, really just kind of step into real adulthood. Like, was it a smooth transition for you, or was it kind of like a culture shock?
I think both, because when you're in survival mode, like, I mean, sometimes I will blow my money, but if I was talking to someone, he would pay my bills, So it was like, I don't know. I don't think reality had really set. Because I was bailed out a lot, but I also was a giver too. So a lot of of my bailouts came from me helping other people, like giving up rent money, being jammed with people that had addictions, helping them out, trying to be in denial that a family member had an addiction. So I help people out a lot, and I guess it was just a process that God blessed me in between that.
And so what was the next, kind of significant moment after being on your own, having your own place, having your job secured? What's next?
Well, I got pregnant at 19 going on 20. I got pregnant with my son, and I didn't know I was pregnant because I got a regular menstrual and everything. And when I found out I was pregnant with him, actually, I was getting my nails done, and this is funny. And some lady, I guess she was a psychic, she told me I was pregnant, and I kind of laughed it off, like, whatever, because I didn't show until I probably was like almost 6 months, because I was very petite. And I was excited, but I was scared because I didn't know how to be a mother. And when I had him, my parents was there. They came to the hospital and everything. Watched me give birth. My son named after my dad. And it was scary because I couldn't really go to anyone to ask for help because the people that were around me, a lot of them emotionally, mentally, physically abused me. So I was bullied by some family members when I was younger. So reaching out to have someone show me or help me be a mom, I didn't have that. So I had to try to navigate through being a mother the best that I could be. And there were a lot of challenges because I held a lot of my trauma that I didn't want to. So I think at a younger age, I was a good mom, but I wasn't the best because I didn't know how.
And what was the situation surrounding the child's father who you were pregnant by? What was that relationship like? What was he any help when the chips were down?
There wasn't a relationship, and to be honest, I didn't know, and I wanted to protect my child more so than anything. So I pretty much I raised my kids as a single mom.
Understood. You said that there was really no one to kind of reach out for to support or get any advice on what to do. Did you happen to find any support systems along the way? How do you think that you were able, to kind of get through the thick of it?
To be honest with you, even the people that I was around said they were worse parents than me, most of them. I had my kids. I took really good care of my children. My kids were spoiled. They had everything. They definitely had everything. Now that I'm older, I realized that I was around a lot of toxic people, but not just toxic people, but users. And that's where I'm older now. I can take accountability because I had a choice to say no. But because of my lack of being loved, I didn't know what love was. I think the what I truly loved was when I had my kids because they could love me, they could hug me, they could kiss me, call me mom, But my entire circle has changed now, and I think almost every majority of my relationships, probably 90% of my relationships was trauma bonded. Because I watched my family fight and argue and there was no loyalty, there was really no loyalty in the circle that I was in, so even where I tried to be loyal, I couldn't fully be loyal because I thought I loved those people, but I love the trauma bonding piece of it. I think that's what it was. I didn't realize it until now. So I'm going through the tilling journey, not specifically now, but within the last few years of the life God has blessed me with.
So it's safe to say, you didn't really take after being shown what to do, but you took after knowing what you did not want for your life or what you did not want for your kids. Would that be accurate?
Right.
So, with those first few years, being a new mother, what was going on at that time? What was your, mind frame like? What was your goals at the time? Like what was really just going on in the mind of Demetria at this time? What you felt like you needed to do, or what's next, or to level up?
My goal was to survive, Sid. And even with surviving, I had to put my kids in situations and take my kids back to places where I started at. And I think that's one of the biggest regrets that I have. If I were to do it all over again and have kids, I would plan. I would have everything in place. We're not taught that. So it's generational curses where we don't have the understanding and knowledge of how to properly have a kid, how to save to have a kid, all the financial literacy piece that comes with that, right? So I had a lot of learning to do because my grandmother specific, they didn't like me too much. I was a black sheep to them, both of them. And I even remember situations with my kids, and people knew. One of the things I had was I did not allow other people to put their hands on my kids. And I even remember with my son, there was a situation when I had took him down to relative house, common house where all the kids went to. And soon as I get off work, one of my relatives say, such and such clothesline your son for jumping in the bed. And I flipped off. I went into a space and a place where I threatened. I was serious. And because the abuse through my childhood was so common, people supported that in that household. And I was told to actually find another babysitter, which I was already looking for a daycare anyways, right? But I was told take my kids to another daycare because I checked the situation where my child was jumping and you clothesline. Don't put your hands on my kids. You hit on me when I was a child. So don't think that you're going to hit on my child. It was allowed for you to hit on me, but it's not allowed for you to hit on them. And yes, I threatened. I acted a fool. I acted out of character. I ramped. I cursed. I did everything in the book, But the one thing was to protect my child from things that happened to so many other kids, right? I didn't want that because I grew up in those circumstances. And was I the best? Absolutely not, because I disciplined my kids too. And some of my disciplining my kids may have been too harsh, right? And that's another piece of being a parent that I had to learn in trying to be the best parent that I could be.
So I guess what type of changes did you implement at that point? What was I guess your kind of first steps to change?
I think more so, I was always changing. If you want to change, there are steps to change. So change was every day to me. I think more so of the biggest change was when we combined two families. And I really, really had to protect my kids from even traumatic situations that occurred. But also, because I was bullied as a kid by family members, and when I say bullied, I mean bullied. Like, I had one relative, and a female. Say my mother would go buy me McDonald's, and I'm going to give you one situation, real live, nothing that I am disclosing. Everything is events that happen in my life. No fabrication. My mom had brought me McDonald's. It was a Big Mac meal, and it wasn't common for everyone to get Happy Meals and Big Mac meals. For us that didn't live in the household, we got way more than the kids that lived in the household, and this is the other relatives' household. Now, I'm going to say this real quick. My mom did the best that she could. My mother brought us a lot. She did us a lot. We had things that kids did not have. And I want people to be aware of this when you're sending your kids to other people's places, right? I always made sure that my kids had video games. If I had one, they had. If my daughter had one, my son had one. It was always doubles of stuff, and I brought them this to Christmas. When I was a child, I'm going to give you this example real quick, and then I'm going to jump into this. My mom had brought me McDonald's, a Big Mac meal, and one of my relatives, they're older than me. They're like 5 years older than me, so I have some relatives that are older, but they're like 5 years older than me, right? And I'm eating I didn't even get a chance to eat my Big Mac meal. They snatched my Big Mac meal and took 2 bites off it. The 2 bites was half of the sandwich, and took gobs of the French fries and stuck them in their mouth. I was like 10 years old, about 10 at the time, and we were sitting on the long couch in the rec room. And I got mad. I was mad, and we got in an argument. And I used to run my mouth as a little kid. Like, I defended myself. No matter I would take a butt kicking, but I was going to defend myself, right? And the relative turned around and punched me in my face. Now, remember, I'm a child. They're a teenager in high school, and I'm in elementary. And they punched me in my face, and I had a black eye. My eye was black. But my retaliation, I took and grabbed their boobs, and I tried to rip her boobs off her chest. Do you hear me? And she jumped up and was like, "Oh my gosh, she grabbed my boobs. I think she might have gave me cancer." Like, that's how bad I grabbed her boobs. And this is exactly what she said. And but it's like, these are some of the examples of the thing, an example when I went through. And I would take my video games to the house, and like, I had everything, the Ataris, everything that you have. All of those games I took to the house, and the kids there destroyed my video games. I had one cousin, I would get Cabbage Patch dolls every year. You know how much Cabbage Patch dolls were then when we were young, and I'm in my 40s. And they would take a pencil and draw it clean across a Cabbage Patch doll's face. I mean, almost every one of my Cabbage Patch dolls. So my mother had got to the point where she was like, "No, you can't take this stuff down there," because I think the last of it was the Jeep, the electric Jeep. They had ripped all the doors off the Jeep and was pushing it. So those are some of the things that, as a child going through, that you have those things, but because other kids aren't getting those things, they destroy it.
Okay. Were you good? Were you done with
Yeah.
your? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sheesh, that is I'm sorry, I was still reeling off of that. Like, what is that's insane. I'm still trying to figure out where to go with that one. You just gave us a lot here.
If you dig back into my childhood, there are things that I will talk about, right? There are some things I'm still healing from, but there are things that I will talk about because as a child, what people don't realize, when you're 10, and if you want me to go, I'll stop because I know we ask questions back and forth. But when you're a young girl, I remember it was always for me. My family was loaded with drug addicts. I'm not even gonna go there and put them out there because if you know, you know. Abusers, and not just abusing us, but abusing women or abusing men, fighting. I mean, just everything, right? But I remember I was a little girl and the police knocked on the door looking for one of my relatives. Knock, 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 knock. And I'm a little girl, and back now, police gonna bust in your house. They don't care. Back then, if you said a person wasn't home, especially if a minor came to the door, they could not come into your house, the home. Okay. And I remember one of the relatives, I was like, they're not here. And they questioned me, and they weren't there. And I had a family member, they were on drugs, so they were high. And when I go downstairs, I'm like, the police was here. Look, what did you tell them? What did you tell them? I told them you weren't here. Like, they gone. They left, right? Out of retaliation, this relative grabbed me by my neck, grabbed me by my neck, and had me up in the air choking me because I told the police to leave and answer the door. So, it's things like that you just don't forget. So when it's certain things I'm very sensitive to because I've experienced these traumas. But every day we have to go silent. And you can't talk because if you have money in areas, I don't care what it is, people perceive and look at you as good people. So when people talk, I want to know what good people are. Because I surely didn't grow up with a lot of good people at all, right?
So was there, outside of the physical abuse, was there any other types of abuse that you experienced?
Physical, emotional, verbal, sexual, which I'm not really in because I denied a lot of stuff because I call it blackout trauma. I didn't want to admit to, I didn't want to acknowledge it, but going through this healing journey now, I'm still coping and dealing with some things that have happened in my life, but I came from a family that protected, so there was a protection everywhere. So I don't care what you said. If a person was wrong, the people that they loved the most were the worst monsters that you have seen. And because you're so immune to it, you continue to go around family members. You continue to be a part of a lot of things. And it's mental health issues. Like when you mentally continue to go around people that have hurt you and you continue to love them, I don't know. I don't know why, because that love caused me not to attract the wrong love, right? So
these the culprit of that was a family member, or was it just friends of family, something of that nature?
A family member.
Jesus. So I assume at the time, you didn't speak to anybody about it, or do you believe that anybody did know what was going on and just didn't say anything?
Why talk when no one will believe you?
Understood. Do you feel like someone did know and didn't say anything, or maybe had caught wind to it and just turned a blind eye?
My family is full of secrets.
Understood.
And I'm gonna leave it right there.
Understood. Now, did you have any siblings, and were you guys united in this kind of face of abuse? Was everybody facing that type of abuse? Was it causing risk between you all? Like, what was that dynamic about?
I'm not going to speak on my siblings. They have to speak for themselves. You know, if they did or if they didn't, but I did have a sibling that went public in the newspaper. So it's like no one believed that. No, it's not that no one believed them. It's that the BS was protected. So I believe them. I believe everything they said was true. But I can't speak about that because it's not my position to speak about that, because they have to individually tell their own side of their life trauma.
Well, right now, we'll focus on what you've experienced and what you've seen. Now, do you believe that from what you've seen or experienced that, they were experiencing the same level of abuse, or did it feel concentrated to you? And if it felt concentrated to you, what do you feel like was, the cause of that, or the differences between you and everybody else?
I think each situation is different. A lot of secrets, a lot of hearsay. So no, I don't think it was contribute to me. What was contributed to me was individually, right? So yeah.
Understood.
Mental health is real.
Understood. So let's get into well, actually, before I do that,
and I will tell you something once we get into, I'll tell you another example of a situation. I'd stayed at a relative's house because I was going through just transitioning for a few months, because there was a period in my life that because I left one situation, I was homeless for maybe a week or so or whatever, a little longer, but my concentration was focused on my kids. I was younger, I was in my 20s, and my concentration was focused on my kids. And I would make sure that my kids would eat. I wouldn't eat. I might take a bite off their sandwich or 2 fries. And I had lost weight drastically. I was stressed, I was depressed, and I had lost weight. So people thought I was probably sick during that stage, right? I was in my 20s, but I wasn't. I was just in survival mode, and my kids came first. So I just needed to make sure that they were good. So I went back to the same where everything started, and I stayed at the home where I said I was not going to go back. I didn't want to be there. And I remember I was in my room, and I was standing in the doorway. And I was watching one of my little relatives being walked around the house, paced back and forth. And I'm watching because I'm not going to take my eye off you. And this is my situation. So because I was a part of it, I can talk about it. And I proceeded to say, I said, what are you doing with the child? What are you doing with them? And they paced and they looked. So they went and sat in my relative's room, and I came in there. And when I walked in the room, I'll never forget, I had a white Gap collar shirt on, favorite shirt. It was not white, off-white. I had a skirt on I had just got from work because I had just started a new job in a corporation. So it was a good job. It was the beginning of something big for me, and to get out, right? And this relative was sitting in the room, and I walked in there because I wasn't playing. I really was not playing. I wasn't playing, okay? When I walked in there, they were on drugs. They took their crack pipe and started chewing the crack pipe, pulled the crack pipe out of their mouth. And I don't know how, but there was 2, like if you look at my neck, there's 2 little like incisions. they took the crack pipe and tried to jab me in my right here. And I had two little I had cuts on my shirt. And when I looked, I had blood all over me. So I ran around one of my relatives who was in a wheelchair. And I think because they were high, they were trying to follow me. So when they ran around relatives, they knocked them out of their wheelchair. And I ran out, jumped down like 8 flights of steps, and I jumped down the other steps like I grabbed the rail. I was a tomboy. But this is even scarier because my child was still in the room, but I was in survival mode. I don't even think it was about, like even thinking like that when you're in survival mode. And I ran to the people, they were standing downstairs, and I was like, oh my God, they just attacked me, and I got blood all over me. So they run upstairs because they done sold them the narcotics, right? And this individual was so cock diesel strong off of the drugs that they ripped the whole frame out the door. My life, I've been in so many life-threatening situations, and I can't stand this individual to this day. I don't care. I think that everything that they get, they deserve what they get. Karma is something else, right? But the mom was downstairs, and she ended up hitting me up. She was like, thank you for like protecting my mom, my child. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, you should have been up here like protecting them. Like I almost done lost my life. But I know that was nothing but God putting me in a position to protect, right? But this is just some of the things like we go through in life, and it follows us through life, no matter what the scars, the trigger, what the situation is. Some things trigger us. And even when I see this person's picture, and I see their picture, and I've been seeing it a little bit more, I want to say something. I want to type what I really, really, really feel, see it, what I really feel. And I know one day it's going to come out of my mouth, but God just continues. He stops me because I'm still healing in that area. And this is what I need people to see. Like, even though you're healing, even though you're at peace, even though you're at a place in your life, there are things that will still trigger you.
Personally, they probably would have to hear something. Because to me, I mean, granted, you don't know how bad it could be eating them up, or if they could just be living life. But personally, you can't be living life, and I'm out here trying to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G to heal and get right for things that done to me. That's not my fault. So, I mean, there's always a way to do things, a way to say things, but sometimes it just be what they need to hear. They need to know that they, you know what I'm saying, they hurt you, but we in here. Like, it is what it is, but just know, like, it's not smooth sailing. So, if that does need to be done to get that monkey up off your back, then there ain't no judgment on me. I don't know how much my opinion means, but
I got a mouth on me, so I speak my mind.
I'm with you. I'm with you. We can go beat him up together, whatever. But I did want to kind of go back just for a second, because at one point, we were just talking about the birth of your first child, and then, it was kids, it was plural. Was there anything significant about or surrounding the birth of your second child, that relationship, anything, tumultuous to report there?
No. So my second child, it was easier because I was learning how to be a mother and trying to do things different. The difference with my second child is I ended up 6 months after they were 6 months, but through the process, I got tested to give someone that really didn't, I wasn't their favorite at all, a kidney. So I'm a kidney donor. So I think the only thing with that is it caused issues with my last child because I only had one organ and my complications were so bad, but I was going through a lot of stress, depression, you name it. I was going through it. So I ended up having her a whole month early. My blood pressure was actually like 150 something over 130 something. It was really high. It was almost in coma mode. So they had admitted me to Fairfax Hospital before I even got there. So I had they had to do an emergency C-section on me with the last one.
Wow. Well, that's good that you at least got that time to focus on your health, versus anything else crazy. But while we saying it's moving, but let's go ahead and get into the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of today's message, the event that kind of sparked everything, so many changes, implementation of a nonprofit, just your entire way of life. So tell us a little bit about how that relationship got started, how it got to the point of where he's almost killing you, and how we got here today.
So let's put it like this. Love turns into hate. When people go through changes in their life, it affects you. And me and my ex both, we were trauma bonding. I had my issues, so I take up my accountability. He never took his, so that's okay, right? So my job to God is to be honest about both sides, right? And when you bring two families together, things can go well. But if you are not working on yourself, things do not go well. And for me, I had no one in my marriage. For him, his whole side was in our marriage and it became very negative, right? So love turned into hate. He had some issues, got in trouble. I stood beside him. I knew I should have left. When I got pregnant with my little one, that is what caused me to stay. And even though I was pregnant, I still knew I should have left, but I felt obligated not to leave someone going through a distressful time. So make a long story short, I was like, okay, we're going to all move together because my dad had went through something. My dad actually, someone tried to rob him, shot him, and the bullet went through his head. So what I did was I combined all of us together. You have everyone going through issues, so let's all just go in one household, right? And we end up uniting. So with him going through what he was going through, it was hard for him to get a job. And when he would get a job, if he didn't like it, he would quit or he would get fired. So everything was on me. So it became stressful. And with me with the high risk pregnancy, I was actually supposed to be on bed rest, but I worked my part-time job all the way up until they took me. Like I couldn't even wear shoes. I was 20% water. And, I had a neighbor that used to warn me. I had a neighbor that used to tell me I should leave. My neighbor would not tell me, but he kept telling me to leave. I don't want to get into it. And he was actually bullying my neighbor. So my neighbor would say, I don't care. I'm small, because he was a small guy. He was like, if he come over here, your ex thinks he's bigger than me. I will attack him. He used to go to his house and disrespect him. But we're not going to make this even worse. He was actually going to his house. And one of the reasons why my neighbor was really telling me to leave is because he was having intercourse with his niece. And when we separated, he ended up moving in with her. And then I allowed him to come back. Right. So there's a lot of things that people don't think that I know, that I do know, and I know what was going on. And I was trying to be in denial about the cheating and stuff like that. And it was so bad that I'm going to make this very clear. I thought about cheating on my ex, but I never, ever, ever cheated on him. Right. One time I had left the house and I got to the light and I turned around and something told me to turn around. Because I knew if I would have went there, I knew it probably would have went left, right? Because I was I was outed. I had enough of everything that was going on. But we had our issues. I would pay all the bills, and the only thing he had to pay at this point is because we were supposed to be splitting everything in three. So I was going through stress trying to pay the bill. So my dad, who was living, we all lived together. Me and my dad decided that we would just go half on the bills because I was paying 2/3. There was a lot of lies. He wasn't telling his family the truth. He was making me make it look like me, and it was actually him. Narcissistic behaviors, because he was a true narcissist. But at one point, I loved this man. So from the emotional, physical, verbal abuse, and I'm going to give one description because we're almost at time, but this is why I was scared and in fear. My daughter had a 4.4 pound Pomeranian. And I talk about this a little more now. And I had bought him a steak and cheese. I was in the kitchen cleaning. And he took his sandwich and he sat it on a chair. The little dog jumped on the chair and started eating his sandwich. I heard this screaming. He was beating the dog up. He beat the dog up so bad that the eye popped out of her eye. I wish I would have did something. And I ended up getting stuck with the bill. I ended up getting stuck with the bill. I had to pay over $3,000. And, I didn't have it. So I had to write 6 post-dated $500 checks, even though, and that still bothers me to this day. But I lived in fear. I was scared. That was just the beginning. There were so many episodes that happened. And one of them, before he did what he did to me, he should have been in jail. He should have been in jail. He almost took somebody's life. He hit him in the back of the head with half a gallon of Smirnoff bottle. And those bottles are thick. And when I went to testify, I had people that he know calling me, bullying me, not to snitch after he almost took somebody's life. But one day I went to work. I was in my part-time. My part-time and full-time became 40 hours. And then when I lost complete respect for him, I was working 80 hours a week. And I had just had my daughter. So I didn't get to spend a lot of time with my daughter. I would come home. He would be drunk, playing video games. I would try to sleep. He would turn the music. He wouldn't turn the music down. So I really couldn't get no sleep. I would grab my daughter when I come in the house, lay her with me, because I didn't get a whole lot of time with her because I had bills to pay. I had to take care of the house when he would just quit a job. And I walked home. I came home one day from my part-time on a Sunday, and I blacked out. I heard him talking about me to somebody on the phone. And whoever was on the end of that other phone, they heard me. They know what I'm talking about. And one of the things that I said to him was, tell whoever you on the other end of the phone with that you'll buy alcohol before you buy your daughter diapers. But at the end, when I told him, I was like, I want you to leave. It's over with. I want a divorce. I'm done. They call it a crime of passion. And I was like, you could stay here for 6 months. I don't want no money for a bill. Save your money and leave. I was like, it ain't like you paying no bills anyways, because he didn't pay bills. It was me. He stayed there and he did not pay bills. I think the most he paid in bills out of the 5 years or whatever was probably $2,000. I lied to you not. Maybe $3,000. And when I left out and went downstairs, I had a North Face, and this time I zipping it up. It was one of the ski ones, so it was made out of that good material. And something told me I think God was guiding me, because I had been praying to God that he get me out of this marriage, because there were times when I didn't want to do anything with him. He would force me. One My clothes have been ripped off. And I had enough. I said, God, please get me out of this. And God had gotten me out of it, but I opened doors again. That's where I have to take accountability. I have to take accountability for being a part of two families coming together and being separated. There are a lot of things that I take accountability for, but I take accountability because I should have made different choices and different decisions, and it would have never led up to what it led up to if I would have just been strong enough. And after I said it was over, when I walked back in the house, I think I embarrassed him, whoever he was on the phone with, and he started hitting me. And he was hitting me so hard, I didn't realize that he was stabbing me. And he dragged me out from the hallway to the back bedroom. He was stabbing me so hard that the knife split in half. One piece was on out in the hallway. One piece was in the other room when the police found, when they did the forensics and started picking up evidence. I had golf balls of hair pulled out of my braids. I had 3 staples. My head was split open like this. I had 15 stitches up my chin to lip. So he stabbed me 6 times, 1 over my heart, 2, 3, 4, 2 in the hand, 5, 6 on my shoulders. I had to have a major surgery on my hand. They had to repair some of my tendons and nerves. If you look at my hand, I have a disability in my hand. I can't fully bend my hand. It will always be, I have permanent pains. And the pains are so overpowering. Sometimes my hand starts moving on its own and I can't control my fingers. And it hurts so bad. I have to try to pull my fingers out. And after he did it, and I do believe he blacked out, because I blacked out too. He tried to come and console me. And I was like, get away. I hadn't even seen my face. But there were 5 911 calls when I got outside. I was able to listen to all the 911 calls during the forensics. And the sad part about it is I never had a knife. And he told the detectives that I stabbed him. That's why he stabbed me. But forensics showed that I never had a knife, that his wound was a self-inflicted wound from him stabbing me, because he got stabbed right here. So the forensics showed that he stabbed himself. So, the healing process. And then after that, months later, I attempted suicide. I put 30 Percocets up to my mouth. And the reason why I'm sitting here today is when I put the pills in my mouth, my toddler at the time ran in the room and said, "Hey, Mommy, I love you," and kissed me on my forehead. And that is what saved me. And that was the beginning of realizing that I need to be here for my kids. But it traumatized my kids too. I put my kids in a traumatizing situation. He more like put his kids in a traumatizing situation as well. But there were a lot of bad behaviors on his side. And I might have to come back for another episode. Because there's so much more to this. And, the only advice that I can give to people is when you're in a relationship, a parent has to keep their child in their place, right? There has to be respect. There has to be a lot of healing. I should have never been in no relationships, to be honest with you, from all of my childhood traumas. I shouldn't have been in no relationships. And, but what he caused me was not to trust men at all. I was scared of men. I couldn't look at men. I couldn't look in their eyes. I was humiliated. I was embarrassed. It looked like somebody beat me up. And they didn't know the extent of what happened to me. So, a very tough journey, very long journey. But it turned into the good fight.
And just a little about how it all came together, how you decided that the best method for yourself of healing was to pretty much share what was going on and get other peoples to do the same? When did it actually become an idea that you decided to put together?
Well, I knew I was on the right step, right? Because I was I came back on social media, right? Because I had joined a car community, a motivational car community where, we modified our cars. So I started posting my vehicles and stuff and just started talking a little bit more. And I had shared before then I had shared my testimony about the Goode Fight, which I was scared. It took me years and years and years to do this, right? Because I was off social media for like 6 years. And I had a relative call me, one of the relatives that bullied me, the relative that ate my sandwich and blacked my eye and I still wanted to love this relative, would go out with them. And every time I went out with them, it was always something drama, right? Like the trauma just lasted, right? And this was the big start of it. They start texting me, and I still got the text messages, right? And they were telling me that I'm posting my vehicles. People could take it as I'm boasting and bragging. And I'm like, how? I'm in a car community. So how is that boasting and bragging, right? And like, do you know what I do? I'm an advocate. You're being loud. No, you're scared of what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do, right? So I let them go. And then the last text message was me, and I blocked them. This is what I said. And to sum it up in a nutshell, I told them, you're a part of my childhood traumas. You tried to frighten me when I was pregnant. You bullied me as a child. You used to take my food. I started going. I said, I would never take advice from you. I would never do this. As a matter of fact, I told him, you're dead to me, and don't you ever call my phone again. And I blocked him. And that was the first step of me taking control back of my life. Because what I realized from them, and even my mother verbally abused me, and I'll hang up on her now, right? I love her to death. She know it. I tell her, anyone around me, you can't verbally abuse me. You don't have permission. And when I started taking control back over my life and controlling it and pushing and filtering, and the hardest thing was pushing family out, right? Pushing it. And those were big pieces of starting the Goode Fight, was taking control back into my life, learning to look in people's eyes, because I was still ruining my life up until probably 2-3 years ago, right? I was still had these bad habits because I had an issue with trust. But I actually, in great relationship, friendship, when people had issues, I would tell them, look, you might need some help. And people are in denial about getting help. I'd be like, I can't deal with it. I don't want to deal with you. I'm done. And people would make me look bad, but I don't care if you make me look bad, because you know the truth, right? So I just started being honest, confronting, and I'm not dealing with drama and trauma. And I've been confronting people lately, and I don't have to deal with it, and I don't have to separate it. I start putting myself first and loving on myself. And when I started loving on myself and putting myself first, because I had never done that, ever. I had put everybody before me. It started changing everything that I do. So I'm able to talk to people. I'm able to help people. I'm able to be honest. I'm able, even when someone calls me and calls or talks or texts or meets me and says, this person did A, B, C, D to me. And I look at them, because now I can read. I'll be like, well, what did you do? What's your trauma? Like, I realized that a lot of people blame other people, but they have issues themselves that they're not addressing, because people that are abused become abusers. And then so many people were like, you know what? That's right. I do have a problem. I do need to work on that. I do need to do this, because there are a lot of triggering situations, and we should be able to leave situations instead of engaging in bad situations, right? Why are you still this old fighting? Why are you still in drama? Why are you still doing this? Because I know that I came from a family where it was drama. And to be honest with you, people may get mad at me for saying this, but I believe I grew up in a cult. So it is what it is, but that's how I feel. And no one can tell me how I should feel, right? So all of that started the Good Fight just from me sharing a piece of my life experience, but being able to look at the reflection of the mirror, because I couldn't look at that reflection in the mirror because I didn't love myself. I didn't like myself. So now I'm able to look at the reflection of the mirror. Now I'm able to love myself. And now I'm able to walk in confidence.
Well, thank you for it's crazy that all this time we've been putting in work with listening to everybody else's life experiences, but we never really dove into yours or the origins of why we do this. So glad we knocked that out, got that out the way. Hopefully this one in particular will motivate more of you all to come out the shadows, become advocates in your own right, at least take those very first steps to just doing the work, getting better, feeling better, being better. So as we do with everybody, Demetria, please let us know what is the best use of everybody's time and effort into your cause, into the nonprofit. How can they reach you? What do you have going on that our viewers can help assist with, help push? You get to participate in shameless plugs, so let's hear it.
Sure, absolutely. So we have a nonprofit organization called the Good Fight, and it's helping others through life experience. It started from domestic violence, but it ended up in something bigger because I went back to my childhood and started facing my childhood traumas. So it's any life experience. The specific focus is domestic violence, but it's any life experience, men, women, and youth. Our specific area of focus is youth, because if we could catch the youth while they're young, we can avoid some of the things that they will go through from childhood into adulthood, which I wish would have happened to me because I would have made different choices in my life. So we offer free youth tutoring, free youth hygienes. We have workshops for men and women. We have events for men and women. God, we're doing so much. It's not even funny. A donation boutique, giving back to the community. You can also come in, make an appointment, and thrift. And all proceeds go to supporting our nonprofit organization. Come in, make a donation, get what you want, just make a donation. And also, if you would like to make a monetary donation, please visit our website, www.thegoodfight.org. There's an E on the end of good, as you see scrolling at the bottom, TheGoodefIGHT. If you can donate supplies, if you want to be a sponsor to supporting the youth from the free youth class, free youth tutoring. We have 2 free youth tutoring sessions a month. Get your child registered. All of our kids' grades have went up. They're all building confidence. We teach them respect, morals, meditation, deep breaths, financial literacy, reading, writing, everything. Our babies is learning. We've incorporated Black history and cursive in some of the sessions. So there are so many things that we're doing. I can't get it all in here because we're doing so many things behind the scene. So please come in, support. Your proceeds will go to helping with our operational costs to run the facility, materials for the youth. There are so many things and areas that we need help in, and we just call out to the community because we're doing so much in the communities and focusing on mental health and realizing that you have mental health issues so that you can stop making excuses about your life. If you have a trauma, stop using excuses to hurt other people. And a lot of people are put in that situation. Some people have never been hurt, but because you have an abuse, you come in and abuse them and hurt them and mess up their lives. And now they have mental health issues because you have mental health issues. And trauma bonding is real. So be careful, look and listen to your red flags. You can feel them, know when to leave, and be a force and strong enough to say, I've had enough. No. And it's okay to say no. And it's okay to walk away from people, even if you've been around them all your life, and hold your family and friends accountable. I guess that's all I have to say for now. So much more that I would love to say, but that's enough because I know we have to go.
All right. Well, thank you again for doing this with us this evening. It was insightful. And again, I hope it can motivate others to start the journey to healing.
Amen.
Everybody, have a good night. Tune in next week as we have always great guests coming through and see what we got next. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace.